The moment I grabbed the mic at our family reunion and told 50 relatives that my wife was sleeping with her trainer, you could have heard a pin drop. Glasses froze mid-air, forks hovered above plates, and Judy's face drained of color like she'd seen a ghost. In that frozen second, I thought, this is either the day I lose everything or the day I finally stop pretending. Either way, there was no going back. Before the mic, before the gasps, before 50 relatives stared in shock, there was the trail. Because every betrayal leaves breadcrumbs, and mine led straight to her gym. That's the part no one saw, the quiet unraveling, the late-night excuses, the laughs at a phone screen that weren't meant for me. If you think explosions happen out of nowhere, you've never listened to the hiss before the blast. My name's Mark. I'm 33, a mechanic who can take apart an engine blindfolded, but apparently couldn't see my own marriage falling apart in broad daylight. Judy, my wife, she's 28, a nutritionist who could talk kale into running for president. To everyone else, we looked like the perfect couple. Me with grease under my fingernails, her with her perfect smile and polished career. But perfect, I learned, is just a mask. It cracks the moment you breathe too hard. It started on an ordinary night, the kind you forget until it brands itself into your memory. I came home late, smelling like gasoline and exhaustion. Judy was curled on the couch, phone glowing, laughing like she'd just read the punchline to a cosmic joke. I leaned over to see what was so funny, and there it was, the trainer. The man sculpted by protein powder and vanity. The man who suddenly had my wife's attention when I didn't. When I confronted her, she collapsed into apologies faster than a cheap lawn chair. Tears, trembling hands, all the classics. She swore it was a one-time mistake, a stupid lapse she regretted, and like a fool, I wanted to believe her. I told myself forgiveness was strength, that we could patch it up. But forgiveness, I found out, is like duct tape on a leaking pipe. It holds just long enough to flood the house. The weeks after were torture. Every time her phone buzzed, I felt my stomach clench. Every late night at the gym turned into a crime scene in my head. She swore she'd cut ties, that it was done. But trust doesn't regenerate. It limps, it crawls, and it dies quietly while you're busy pretending everything's fine. Hope, it turns out, is the cruelest con artist of all. And then came the family reunion, an event designed for potato salad, awkward hugs, and forced small talk, not marital implosions. Everyone was there, uncles arguing over brisket, cousins chasing kids through the yard, aunts bragging about their newest diets. Judy thrived in it, moving from group to group like a social butterfly high on attention. She wore the mask so well, you'd never guess it was cracked beneath the surface. I tried to distract myself, clinging to conversations like they were lifeboats. A cousin asked how business at the garage was going. I muttered something about engines running smoother than my marriage. He laughed, thinking I was joking. I wasn't. Betrayal has a way of staining everything. You taste it in your food, you hear it in your jokes, you feel it in your bones. But underneath the small talk, the truth was gnawing at me. I kept telling myself maybe she was done, maybe the trainer was out of the picture, maybe I was paranoid. But deep down, I knew. Betrayal doesn't just stop, it lingers, it festers, it waits for the perfect moment to remind you you're a fool for hoping otherwise. That night, standing in that yard with laughter echoing around me, I felt like a man holding a grenade no one else could see. I didn't know when it would go off, only that it would. And the worst part, I realized I wasn't afraid of the explosion anymore. Part of me was itching for it, craving the chaos, because at least then I wouldn't have to keep pretending. And as the evening rolled on, with my uncle reaching for the mic to start the toast, I caught myself gripping my drink like it was the only thing tethering me to sanity. My thoughts were dark, bitter, laced with humor that tasted like rust. Of course she'll smile through this. Of course she'll act like nothing happened. Maybe I should let her win an Oscar for the performance. But what she didn't know was that I wasn't just an audience member in her little show. I was writing the script for the finale, and the curtain, whether she liked it or not, was about to fall. By the time the reunion hit full swing, I was done pretending. The air buzzed with chatter, kids darted between tables, and the smell of barbecue hung thick enough to choke on. To everyone else, it was laughter, food, and family traditions. To me, it was a stage. And Judy, in her bright dress and flawless smile, was playing the lead role in a performance I was seconds away from cancelling. She moved through the crowd like nothing was wrong, hugging cousins, laughing with uncles, nodding at inside jokes she didn't even get. To them, she looked radiant. To me, she looked rehearsed. Every smile was scripted, every gesture planned. I half expected her to hand out playbills at the door. If acting were a sport, she'd have been our family's first Olympic champion. I lingered on the sidelines, clutching my glass, running through the speech in my head. I didn't want rage to take the wheel. That would make me look bitter, unstable. No, I wanted precision. I wanted control. My words would be the scalpel, her mask the patient, and the entire family the operating theatre. Timing, I reminded myself, was everything. That's when I saw him. The trainer. He wasn't hiding in shadows or ducking behind relatives. No, he stood in plain view, leaning against the lemonade stand like he owned the place. Cocky smirk, casual stance, eyes darting toward Judy with a familiarity that made my blood boil. It was one thing to betray me. It was another to do it on my turf, in front of my family, as if my presence was a minor inconvenience. Judy's eyes lit up when she spotted him. Subtle, but I caught it. The quick tilt of her head, the flicker of recognition, the laugh that came a little too easily. If guilt was supposed to look heavy, hers floated like a feather. And in that moment, every promise she'd made about one mistake turned into ash. One mistake doesn't keep smiling at you from across a crowded yard. I stayed still, forcing calm. My uncle's toast was moments away, and I wasn't about to waste the perfect setup by losing control early. So I smiled. I nodded. I laughed politely at a cousin's bad joke, all while rehearsing the lines in my head. This isn't rage. This is revelation. Don't just blow it up. Detonate it with style. The mic finally came out. My uncle tapped it, clearing his throat. The crowd hushed. Judy's hand rested casually on her hip, her drink dangling like she didn't have a care in the world. And me? My heart hammered like a misfiring engine. This was it. Showtime. I didn't snatch the mic. That would have looked messy. No, I walked up calmly, hand outstretched, smiling like I had an announcement about raffle tickets or a surprise dessert. My uncle, unsuspecting, handed it over. The weight of it in my palm felt like a trigger, and I was ready to pull. "Ladies and gentlemen," I began, steady voice slicing through the quiet. Every head turned. Conversations died mid-sentence. Even the kids froze, sensing something unusual. Judy's smile faltered, just slightly, but I caught it. She knew. Oh, she knew. I took my time. I wanted them hooked before the blade came down. I thanked everyone for being there, joked about the potato salad, bought myself a few seconds of normalcy. Then I shifted. My tone sharpened, my gaze locked on Judy. Now, family reunions are about honesty, about sharing what matters most. And tonight, I think it's only fair we all hear the truth. The yard went silent, the kind of silence that amplifies every heartbeat. Judy's drink trembled slightly in her hand. The trainer straightened, eyes narrowing. I almost laughed. The man could lift weights all day, but he looked powerless now, cornered without even realizing it. I laid it out, piece by piece. Not with shouting, not with fury, but with surgical precision. The one mistake, the late-night texts, the gym sessions that lasted longer than any workout should. Each detail dropped like a hammer on stone. Gasps spread through the crowd. Aunts covered their mouths. Cousins exchanged wide-eyed stares. My words weren't just telling a story. They were detonating it in real time. Judy tried to cut in once. A weak, "Mark, stop!" But the look on her face was pure panic. Her perfect mask was cracking under the weight of exposure, and she had no script left to follow. "The trainer?" He turned pale, his cocky grin collapsing into the tight-lipped face of a man who suddenly realized muscles don't protect you from public humiliation. By the time I reached the end, the yard was in chaos. Gasps, murmurs, relatives whispering furiously. Judy stood frozen, eyes darting between me and the crowd, her entire act collapsing like a cheap set under stage lights. And I, calm, deliberate, almost smiling, lowered the mic and let the silence hang heavy. The curtain had dropped, and every witness in that yard had seen the final act. The silence after my mic drop was louder than any shouting match could have been. Faces I'd known my whole life stared at Judy like she was a stranger who'd just wandered into the wrong backyard. The barbecue smoke curled lazily in the air, but the smell of betrayal burned stronger. Judy's mask, once glued on tight, had fallen off and shattered at her feet. The trainer shifted uncomfortably, suddenly aware that 50 pairs of eyes could pierce deeper than any dumbbell. Judy finally broke. "Mark, please, can we talk about this in private?" Her voice cracked, desperate, as if there was still an ounce of dignity left to salvage. But the audience wasn't leaving. No one was excusing themselves for pie. The family wanted blood, or at least answers, and I wasn't about to rob them of the finale. "Private?" I echoed, letting the word linger like smoke. "You weren't exactly private when you turned our marriage into a 2-for-1 gym membership." A few cousins coughed to cover their laughter, but the damage was done. Judy flushed crimson, eyes darting like a trapped animal. The trainer tried to puff his chest, maybe hoping to salvage some authority. "Man, this isn't the place," he began. Wrong move. I cut him off with a look sharp enough to slice steel. "This is exactly the place. You walked in here thinking you could hide in plain sight, smirking like a guest instead of the parasite you are. Now everyone knows what you really are, an uninvited shadow in someone else's marriage." His jaw worked, but no sound came out. Muscles don't teach you how to win a war of words. The family split into sides quicker than election season. Some gasped in sympathy for me, others muttered about Judy's disgrace, while a few just stood there stunned, mouths half open. The whispers swelled into a chorus of judgment. Judy looked at them, pleading silently, but no one rushed to her defense. She wasn't the beloved cousin anymore. She was the scandal everyone would dissect for years. I didn't need to yell. I didn't need to fight. I simply turned, handed the mic back to my uncle, and walked off like a man who had just delivered the gospel truth. Calm, collected, final. My steps carried me across the yard, past stunned relatives and half-finished plates, out into the cool night air. Behind me, chaos simmered, but I didn't look back. Looking back was for those who doubted their decision. I had none. Later, I heard the fallout. Judy tried damage control, blaming stress, claiming misunderstandings, even tossing the word therapy around like a last-minute band-aid. But you can't unring a bell, and you can't re-stitch a mask once it's ripped apart in public. The trainer vanished from her life as quickly as he'd swaggered in. Cowards don't stick around when the lights get too bright. My family, meanwhile, rallied behind me. The sympathy, the support, the whispered, "We always knew something was off with her." It all poured in like an overdue flood. Some of it felt genuine, some of it performative, but none of it mattered. I hadn't exposed Judy for them. I had exposed her for me, for the peace of walking away without the weight of silence dragging me down. Judy begged, of course. Calls, texts, voicemails laced with tears and half-truths. It didn't mean anything. We can fix this. You don't understand. But I did understand. I understood perfectly. The woman who once promised me loyalty had treated that promise like a coupon, redeemable at the gym, expiring as soon as it got inconvenient. There was no fixing betrayal. There was only surviving it and, if you were lucky, owning the story instead of letting it own you. The divorce wasn't messy, not in the legal sense. She fought for scraps, tried painting me as cruel for going public, but the truth was already out there. My calm, deliberate unveiling had sealed her fate. Friends distanced themselves, family avoided eye contact at gatherings. Reputation, once polished, was tarnished beyond repair. She wanted privacy, and all she got was infamy. As for me, I moved forward. Not bitter, not broken, just lighter. Some people heal quietly. Me, I healed loudly. Every step I took without her was a victory. Every smile that wasn't forced was a reminder that sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying someone, it's exposing them and walking away untouched. People still whisper about that reunion. Remember when Mark, always with a shake of the head, half shock, half admiration. My story became their cautionary tale, their dinner table anecdote, their reminder that secrets have a way of slipping out when you least expect. And I let them talk. Let them speculate. After all, I didn't just survive betrayal, I turned it into theatre. And if you're going to be betrayed, you might as well make sure the encore belongs to you. Because in the end, Judy lost more than a husband. She lost the mask she'd worn so well, the reputation she'd guarded so fiercely, and the crowd she thought she controlled. Me? I walked away with the one thing she couldn't fake: truth. And that, in this twisted play of betrayal, was the sweetest curtain call I could have asked for.